This embarrassing night for the Pittsburgh Pirates finally ends. That came from Greg Brown for Final Out. My friends, when you're losing the voice of the team, who is, for full context, paid by the team, maybe somebody can start listening. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins, where you found this. Brewers 14, Pirates 0. The franchise's most lopsided loss since May 22 of 2022. But I got to tell you, I got a little bit of a bone to pick with Mr. Brown and his description. Because what he calls an embarrassing night for the Pittsburgh Pirates only applies in the correct context, meaning it's embarrassing for the fans, for those who follow the franchise, for those who've loved the franchise, for those who've played for it. But if you or anybody thinks that it's embarrassing for Ben Cherington or Bob Nutting, and I'm not saying this for dramatic effect, I mean this in the most literal sense possible, it's not. It's not. They don't get embarrassed by this. And speaking specifically of Cherington, all he does in his head is runs through the spreadsheets, and it's 1 out of 162, and it's no big deal. And something process versus, something results. And this is what they've created, both on and off the field. Cherington by being the worst general manager in professional sports, and Nutting by simple virtue of continuing to employ the worst general manager in professional sports. And then somewhere between those two, the resultant lack of accountability that permeates through every portion of this organization. This was Don Kelly after the game.
We got to flush it. We got a day game tomorrow. Flush it and come back and compete tomorrow.
Oh, if only Donnie knew how accurate that assessment is, that the Pirates need to flush it. You betcha, my brother. They need to flush it in the worst way. And I don't mean him and or his players. The organization requires an all-out enema. Everything and everybody associated with the management of this team needs to be, and I use the term advisedly, dumped, after which they can flush it. Today isn't the day to be bringing up that the Brewers are Major League Baseball's best team, nor that the Brewers have now won 11 in a row, nor that they had Freddie Peralta and his 2.9 ERA. Why? Well, because Paul Skeens was pitching, and at least when Skeens pitches, the Pirates can give off the illusion for a night that they're competitive. They still don't score for him. They don't do anything particularly special. But he keeps the score into a manageable range, and if somebody happens to run into a baseball or two, you never know. Well, that didn't happen either. On a night where O'Neal Cruz collided with Jack Suwinski in the outfield and hurt his head, it doesn't seem serious, but there will be more information on that tomorrow. On a night where Kelly got thrown out for some of the worst umpiring behind the plate that you'll see anywhere by Roberto Ortiz. On a night where a characteristically pathetic offense went 4 for 31 with 8 strikeouts and only managed 1 hit when the Brewers brought in a position player to pitch the 9th. Let me repeat this. The Brewers brought in a position player to pitch the 9th with the lead. Usually not how that goes. Tends to be the other way around, the team that is trailing. And that, of course, happened as well because, when you're going to get embarrassed, or at least theoretically embarrassed, you got to go all out. Jared Triolo pitched the 8th for the Pirates and gave up a couple of unearned runs. But no, disconcerting is having Skeens get hit. This never happens. Skeens, remember, is immune to all that ails the Pirates. Well, not this time. Sal Frelick hit a leadoff homer off of him. That brought the first run by anybody against Skeens all season, and he ended up giving up another homer as well. 4 runs on 6 hits and a couple of walks over 4 innings. Speaking afterward in the clubhouse with Jose Negron of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and by the way, our outlet is the only one that's on this trip in Milwaukee. We're the only ones covering it. The big man sounded a little less than enthused with how things went.
They're obviously hot right now. I got in positions that weren't very advantageous to me, so to where I had to be perfect, and I didn't have my best stuff today, so they jumped on it. It is what it is.
Never let these people off the hook for what they're doing to this long ago proud civic institution. That's why we're there. That's why we're covering. That's why we're in the clubhouse afterward asking the questions that need to be asked. This team is now 25 games behind the Brewers, a team that's based in a market that is 2/3 the size of Pittsburgh with a somewhat similar payroll. The Pirates are at around 90 and the Brewers are a little over 110. This was the 15th time this season that the Pirates were shut out. That's the most in Major League Baseball. And I'll repeat that this came despite Pat Murphy, the Brewers manager, putting a position player into the game to pitch with a lead. Yeah, it was a 14-run lead, but he did it with a lead. Should be embarrassing, right? When we come back, J1Q. If you're looking for a great dining experience, look no further than North Shore Tavern. Located directly across Federal Street from PNC Park, next door to Mike's Beer Bar, North Shore Tavern is Pittsburgh's home for steak on a stone. Enjoy your steak finished on a hot lava stone in front of you, where you ensure each piece is cooked to exactly your liking. Or try their rotating selection of entrees, hot sandwiches, salads, and burgers, all while enjoying the ambiance dedicated to the great players and history of the Pittsburgh Pirates all around you. Come see why everyone's talking about North Shore Tavern and steak on a stone.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragechek.org. That's gunstoragechek.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Time now for J1Q, and that comes from Nick, who says, DK, before the series opener in Milwaukee, Pat Murphy, the Brewers manager, was quoted as saying that the Pirates were a capable team who were not going to just roll over. As I write this message to you, DK, it is 4:30 a.m. in Stuttgart, Germany, where I've lived the last 4 years, and the Pirates just put Jared Triolo to pitch in a 14-0 game. I don't even know what to say, DK. I am feeling low, and I think this feeling is the realization that this team just isn't collectively good. Oh, my man. I hope the Pirates fans can remember one thing from this regime, that this could have been a good team, but they chose not to try. They being the front office. They can change the narrative, but they won't. Nick, this team just isn't collectively good. You and I are on the same page with that one. In fact, I don't know that anyone's ever expressed a sentiment in this direction that I've agreed with more. But I'm really going to disagree with your last sentence. You said of this front office, and I quote directly from Nick in Stuttgart, Germany, They can change the narrative, but they won't. No, Nick, they can't change the narrative unless they just resign, unless they just don't show up for work. That would represent the single most constructive contribution that they'd have made to the Pittsburgh Baseball Club in their 6 years on the job. And I'm not even attempting to be facetious when I say that. One phone call is all it would take. Hello, Bob? Yeah, hey, Bob, it's Ben. I've been thinking, I've done such a rotten job, and I keep waiting for you to come to your senses and fire me. And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. And I got to tell you, I'm kind of starting to get the sense that you're not going to do it. So in the interest of what's best for the Pirates, I'm just going to quit, all right? To which Bob might come back and say, who is this? You guys, you're still listening to this show. I can't get rid of you. Let's do it again tomorrow.